Hi, I'm Mark Ella. I'm here today to interview a very good friend of mine, David Lord. David's been involved in an exciting project called Green and Gold Greats. David, how did this project come about?
Well, Mark, as you very well know as a legend yourself, that sport is so important to the psyche and the culture of the Australian people. And over the years, they've had so many men and women who have been just magnificent athletes on and off the field. And I thought, heavens, there are too many of these wonderful legends that haven't been interviewed at great length, and therefore Green and Gold Greats will look after that. So all these interviews are around 24 and a half minutes, and fortunately they are just so good, every one of them, because they are the wonderful sporting people that they've been on the field.
Let's talk about some of your favourites. Herb Elliott.
Well, Herb, as you well know, is one of the most amazing athletes, never beaten over the 1500 or the mile. And coming to the 1960 Rome Olympics, he was an absolute white-hot favourite to win. And in fact, as it turned out, that he smashed his own world record, won by 30 metres, still the unbelievable distance that no one else has won by. And in fact, his time that day would have won 7 of the next 9 Olympic Games. That's how brilliant it was. But he was always super fit, and his signature was hitting the 600 mark from home and putting the pedal to the metal, and off he'd go. But this particular day, the biggest day of his life, he said, I got there and I was buggered. I had nothing left. And then he thought of all the training he'd done in the Portsea Hills with Percy Cerutty and what have you, and it all clicked in and he just ran away with it. But he tells some beautiful stories in his interview about Percy Cerutty and how much he meant to him as an athlete.
And also the golden girl, I guess, of Australian athletics at the time, Betty Cuthbert.
Oh, what a lady, what a lady. Won the 100, 200 and the relay in the 1956 Games. Lost a lot of interest for Rome 1960, and she decided to give it away altogether. But she's a very religious lady and always has been, and quite openly says she speaks to God. And when Betty says it, you totally believe it. And when she was tending weeds in the nursery of her parents' nursery there in Ermington, God spoke to her before the 1964 Games in Tokyo and said, you must run. And she did. And she won the 400, which she'd never run before. And it was the first time in Olympic history there'd been a women's 400 metres. But sadly, MS has taken over with Betty, and she'd been very ill for a long time. And that's one of the tragedies of life, that such a lovely, lovely lady has been through such hell.
Yep, she certainly is a great lady. And now one of my favourite players ever, Bobby Fulton.
The bozo. Well, what an extraordinary story that he tells in the interview, that he made his first grade debut in Wollongong at 16, and he was out surfing in the morning, and he decided the surf was too good. So he stayed in the surf and just didn't front for the game. It was the 16-year-old making his debut, and he gets home and his father's given him the rounds of the kitchen, and so much so he said, you've got to decide tonight. You surf or you play rugby league, and fortunately he picked rugby league.
It's an amazing story. And now perhaps somebody that many of the youngsters out there wouldn't recognise, Edgar Britt.
Well, Edgar's now 97, Marcus, and he's an amazing jockey. He was the first Australian to ride overseas after World War II. He still drives his car, you know, without glasses at 97. And this particular day, he was supposed to be riding for the King and the Queen, King George VI and Queen Elizabeth. And Princess Margaret and Princess Elizabeth, now the Queen, turned up instead. They corralled him in the saddling paddock and said, Mr. Britt, will such and such a horse win today? And Edgar said, oh, I hope so, Your Majesty, I hope so, but I might have to give her a cut with a whip. And Princess Elizabeth looked horrified and turned on her heels and moved away. Said, come on, Margaret, we've got to go now. And they get about 10 metres away, and Margaret turned around and came back and whispered in Edgar Britt's ear, if she needs one, give her one. And Edgar did, and she won.
Oh, there's some great stories. David, where can we buy these CDs?
You can get them at Demics, and you can go to the website on www.greenandgoldgreats.com.au, and Green and Gold Greats is spelled out as one word, and it's all there for you to see. They're in 2 volumes, 15 in each, and they are just fantastic listening.
Okay, a fantastic Christmas present. Thank you, David. I'm Mark Ella, and I've just been talking to David Lord about his latest project, Green and Gold Greats.